Every so often I've came out with a video about the plant Golden Alexander's. Golden Alexander's is a native plant to North America, and it may offer some soil benefits, and it can also attract a bunch of different beneficial insects. And so I want to highlight some of that today. In a recent video I came out with, I detailed how I propagate this plant by root division. And so this is an all-around pretty easy native plant to grow, and it can have a lot of upside to its agro-ecological niche that it can fill. So the Latin name of Golden Alexander's is Zizea aurea, and so this is a native umbelliferous plant, so it's in the carrot family. A lot of plants in the carrot family are known for their small flowers and florets that can attract a bunch of short-tongued insects, right? Many of these are very beneficial to the landscape, whether it's pollination or pest control, or both. So the cool thing about this plant is it is a perennial, right? It can be a short-lived perennial, but it also can reseed itself pretty easily, right? So it can seem, in some cases, to be more of like a long-lived perennial almost, right? Because per my experience, it seems to come back every year pretty easily, and it propagates itself as well, right? The plant grows up, it flowers, and then it lodges over, and new plants emerge where those seed heads have fallen onto the ground, right, later on in the season. And the cool thing is that this plant has a perennial root system, right? And so, being that it is a perennial, or at least a short-lived perennial, it has a perennial root system, right? So, even though it may die back above ground during the winter time, under the ground, the roots are still very much alive and have the potential to be harboring a bunch of beneficial microbes, maybe some mycorrhizal fungi that can subsist off of these living roots during the winter time. So it may potentially be a way to bring more life into the ecosystem, especially within the soil, during the winter time, especially in these colder climates. So that might be a bunch of really cool research opportunities to really hash out what are some of the communities that can subsist off of these roots during the winter time, and during the growing season, how can these microbial communities benefit other plants that are growing nearby. Another cool thing about this plant is it blooms earlier in the season. We are in the beginning of May, and so not a whole lot of other plants are in flower. I mean, we've got some dandelions, some ground ivy, but especially for umbelliferous plants, the Golden Alexander's is pretty much the only one. So we can attract more pollinators into the garden earlier in the season, and then from that point, the goal is to have a continuous arrangement of flowering times throughout that growing season to be able to maintain those populations of beneficial insects. But this is one way we can get more beneficials into the garden earlier in the season, right? So we can kind of kickstart that process. This plant is also very easy to grow. It can grow in full sun, it can grow in part shade. I've grown it in both of those environments successfully, and you can propagate it by root division, and they can also be propagated by seeds as well. This plant also attracts a bunch of beneficials we'll get to in a minute, and it can also have some pretty good ornamental value, right? It's got those golden yellowish flower heads with nice dark rich green leaves. Alright, so what types of beneficial insects does this plant attract? We have different types of chalkid wasps, along with probably some other beneficial parasitoids and predators. And just to kind of give you an idea of what some of the chalkids can go after, they can keep in check some of the orthopteroids, probably especially in the younger stages. So orthopteroids would be like crickets and grasshoppers, but they're probably attacking the eggs or those younger life stages, right? Same thing with some of these flies, beetles, and moths as well. And then we have some species of dancefly that can go after different species of aphids, mites, and caterpillars. The ladybug, of course, very prominently or famously goes after the aphids, but also mealybug, mites, and to a lesser extent maybe some other small insect pests as well. And then we can also attract the minute pirate bug, which is another beneficial insect that can go after the mites, aphids, and whitefly. We can additionally also attract some cyanopoids. Some of these can be gall-forming insects, but some of them can also be very beneficial and have parasitoid or predator qualities. And then we can also attract some butterfly species, like certain types of swallowtails as well, especially in the larval stages. They will be consuming the foliage of the golden alexanders. And then we can attract some others. Syrphid flies are another beneficial predator. They can go after, like, aphids and other insects. And then we can have some pollinators that are attracted: adrenid bees, sweat bees, various species of our native bees. Given that this is a native plant, it will attract native bees. And then we can also attract some pests as well, like aphids and lygus bugs, but this is part of what's going to attract the ladybugs to this plant in the first place, right? And some of these others, right? So some of these beneficial insects can be sustained by the pollen or the nectar that this plant produces, but also by some of the pests that this plant may also harbor as well. And so this plant can provide basically a complete food source for these beneficial insects, right? And this is where even the pests can be beneficial in a sense, right? Because they are helping to sustain the populations of the beneficial insects. Now, golden alexanders is native to North America, Zizea aurea, but we also have some other species that can be beneficial as well, right? There is a closely related species to golden alexanders, the Latin name of which is Zizea aptera. And so this plant is, very similar in a lot of respects. There's probably a lot of similarities in all of these things, I'm sure. I haven't grown the plant myself, so I can't say for certain, but that's another option of a plant to grow, another native plant. And then we have some other species like yellow pimpernel, Trepocarpus athusei, and Thaspium trifoliatum, right? And so all of these plants are native to North America, and they can be very similar. Well, most of them are very similar in appearance to golden alexanders. And like I said, a lot of these umbelliferous plants can attract a bunch of short-tongued pollinators, some of which, or many of which, may be predatory or parasitoid, so very beneficial for natural native pest control. And so these are some other options of plants that we can grow as well. So thank you so much for checking out this video on the golden alexanders and how it can benefit the local landscape, right? And even in an agricultural setting. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.